Chapter 1. A Foolish Idea. Lunar date 3.1625.1.7. 8 hours and 41 minutes after day rise. Smash! Bang! Daniel gripped the armrest of his chair, trying to stabilize himself. Report! He yelled out. Shields are holding at 67%, sir, the security officer responded. Daniel looked over his shoulder. Keep them there for a while. How are the weapons? Lasers are holding at 83% efficiency. Solar and lunar torpedoes are at half capacity. Good. Coordinate with the Lazy Claw and the Silver Stallion to focus our fire on the enemy destroyers. But sir, what about the Dreadnought? His tactical officer interjected. Is it still holding near the space station? Yes, sir. Daniel glanced up to the timer display over the bridge's view screen. They only had 6 minutes to destroy the space station, or else everything they fought for would be lost into oblivion. Touching the device on his left arm, 2 holographic figures appeared in front of his face. Emmy, Seth, we may have to switch up our strategy a little. Emilyn Murry brushed her light pink hair out of her face and rolled her eyes. You don't say. Sparks shot off in the background. The Lazy Claw can't handle too much more damage. And if my ship is destroyed, there'll be no one left to protect the 2 of you from those destroyers. Daniel knew Emmy was correct. However, they'd run out of time if they focused their efforts on the destroyers before attempting to blow up the space station. There has to be a way, he thought to himself. Interacting with the display in front of him, Daniel brought up an image of the map. Josef's destroyer, the Silver Stallion, was using Emilyn's Dreadnought as cover against the enemy attacks. Daniel's battlecruiser was off to the side, trying to draw some of the fire away from the Lazy Claw. Helm, can we initiate a short lunar jump towards the station? It would have to be very short, sir. Don't worry, it will be. Daniel turned back to his friends. I have a foolish idea. The good news, they won't see it coming. The bad news, it may not work. But if we don't try it, we'll lose this battle. Where's the fun if we aren't taking risks? Josef Rickard joked. What's your idea? Send all your remaining fighters to the Dark Fang. Trust me with the rest. Daniel, Emilyn started. Send the fighters. Daniel ended the call and stood up from his chair. Fighter control, prepare the docking bay for 27 more fighters. It will be a little crowded, I know, but it only needs to be for a few seconds. Yes, Captain. Helm, prepare the lunar drive jump on my mark. Get us as close to that station as you can. Aye, sir. Security, after we exit from the lunar jump, shift all power from the aft shields to our forward shields and weapons. But, Captain, that will leave us exposed to the enemy Dreadnought's weapons. I know. Our fighters will launch immediately upon our exit and fly in a screening pattern against the Dreadnought's attacks. They only need to last long enough for us to ram into the station. Everyone on the Dark Fang's bridge turned and stared at the captain with disbelief. Daniel pointed to the clock. Less than 3 minutes remained. I've weighed all of our options. This is the only one that gives us a chance at success. He paused. His palms were starting to sweat. I know you're afraid. So am I. But everyone is depending on us and we can't let them down. We are the difference between victory and defeat. At the same time, I'd be remiss if I didn't offer you a way out. If anyone is unwilling to take part, you are free to head to the escape pods. Despite their initial shock, none of the bridge crew moved. Their loyalty warmed his heart. As I thought. Fighter control, do we have them? Last one just entered the docking bay. We're good to go. Excellent. Helm, initiate jump. The stars outside of the view screen elongated and disappeared in a flash of light. Less than a second later, they were back in normal space, flying towards the space station with the enemy Dreadnought sitting off their stern. Launch the fighters! Security, shift our shields and fire all laser banks and torpedoes at that station! Light blue lasers illuminated the space in front of the Dark Fang, and trails of yellow and orange extended towards the space station. The station's defenses took a moment to target the new threat, but once they did, their full force was set on them. Hold steady! Daniel cried. Sir! The voice of the security officer cut through the air. A few shots from the enemy Dreadnought managed to get through. If our aft takes another hit, we'll lose our engines and we'll be dead in the water. Tell the fighters to form up in a ball formation. It's imperative they don't allow another shot through. What is the status of the space station's structural integrity? 47% and dropping, the tactical officer replied. If we ram them before they drop below 30%, we won't do enough damage. Security, how many torpedoes remain? 10 each, sir. Another explosion rocked the bridge. Daniel stumbled and caught himself at the back of the helmswoman's chair. And our weapons? 62% efficiency, sir. Fire all remaining torpedoes and shift all shields into our weapons. But do it now! Daniel yelled. Less than a minute remained. The security officer's fingers flew over the display at his station as he obeyed his captain. Helm, give the engines one last push and let's finish this. The Dark Fang sped through space, firing all her remaining weapons at the space station. Daniel stood defiantly on his bridge as the station drew closer and closer on the screen in front of him. It has been an honor to serve with you. I will see you all in our next match. For some, the simulated game of Solar Faceoff was merely a way to pass the time. For Daniel, it was a way to live out a fantasy which would never become reality. His eyes closed as the battlecruiser crashed into the space station and exploded. Daniel opened his eyes and was welcomed to the following words being declared on the display screen in front of them. Shadow Gryphons win. The simulation shifted to a virtual waiting room with 5 other people. Daniel held out his hand. Good game. It was a great series. None of the opponents, the Raging Leviathans, offered their hands back. He meant those words. The best of 5 series had gone the distance. Each team had won 2 rounds in the final game mode called Protection, where both sides took turns defending a space station. If the attacking team blew up the space station within 10-minute time limit, they won. If the defending team held out for the entire 10 minutes, they won. Typically, the defending team held the advantage. The Shadow Gryphons were forced into the attacking role in the final round because their opponents did more damage to the space station in the previous attacking rounds. Despite this, his team was victorious. The boy with teal hair, their team captain, started yelling, You got lucky! That wouldn't work in a real tournament! Faz! Daniel muted the audio coming from the other players. They didn't need to hear their complaints. By winning the match, they were able to keep their positions as 3rd in overall in their league standings. With 6 games remaining in their season, the road was set for them to finish strong leading up to the prep tournament on Barra 21st. What was that? Josef mocked, holding his hand up to his ear. We can't hear you, sorry. The 3 of them laughed as the waiting room disappeared and they found themselves back in the solar deck, a large empty room where simulations came to life at TNC Gaming Consortium. It wasn't the best or most prestigious gaming center in Artanikst, but it was their favorite. Besides, Theo Olsyn always made it worthwhile for them by allowing them to practice after hours. He believed they had the potential to win the World Championship. Well, I won't be able to use that strategy again if we meet them in the prep tournament. Daniel removed the optical nexus from over his eyes. Josef laughed. I don't think you'll be able to use that move ever again. Apparently our match was being viewed by most of the other top teams. Everyone is posting their opinions on the hub. Oh, great, Emilyn grimaced. Do you think Nolan was watching? Nolan Actor was the team leader of the Red Eagles, the top team in their age bracket. Daniel's nexus beeped and a message rolled across a holographic display. Oh, he was. He just tagged me in a post calling my strategy cowardly, and that he would have seen through it and prevented it. What a coda, Emilyn scoffed. You know, he really boils my bananas. He'd never sacrifice his ship to win a game. Like everyone else, he cares too much about his own personal stats. He's just scared we're going to beat them. What are the others saying? Same as always, Josef shrugged, leaning against the solar deck wall. You know how it is, Emmy. Everyone has their opinion, and the only opinions that really matter are the ones which get stars and have the most prestige. Most of these people don't even know us personally, but they think their opinions are all that matter. This is why I don't pay any attention to them, Daniel replied. Anyways, do you want to go grab something to eat? It's our last night of freedom before our final year at the academy. For sure. Definitely. The 3 teenagers changed out of their black and red Solar Faceoff captain uniforms and said goodnight to Theo before leaving. He congratulated them on their win and mentioned how Cammi would have been proud of them. They assured him they'd be back as soon as they figured out their semester scheduling between academy work and their internships. Jumping in Josef's Cosmo Speeder, they joined the traffic in the open air. Where do we want to go? I'm in the mood for some real chicken wings, Emilyn mentioned. I know there's technically nothing different about them from the ones made by fabricators, but I don't know. There just seems to be something better about a human touch when it comes to truly enjoying wings. I agree, Daniel nodded. So I guess we're going to Pow's shack? Ah, Seth, come on! Emilyn playfully punched him in the arm. There are no better homemade wings in town. I may even grab a slice of pizza, too. No need to be violent, dear, Josef rubbed his arm. Candy, please set a course for Pow's shack. Candy responded with an automated female voice from the speeder's terminal. As you wish, Seth. Course set. Do you want to drive, or shall I drive for you? You can drive, Candy. Thank you. You are welcome, Seth. ETA is 12 minutes and 42 seconds. I really wish you'd change Candy's voice. I'm not a fan of another woman talk to you in that way. Josef leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. Yeah, well, Candy doesn't hit me after asking a simple question. Sometimes, I think she treats me better than you. Oh, really? Emilyn crossed her own arms. Maybe next time you need help with your schoolwork, you should ask Candy for help instead of me. Actually, Emilyn, Candy interrupted, I am more than capable of helping Josef with his academics. In fact, my records indicate your personal Candy also helps you with your academics. Oh, shut up, Candy. As you wish, Emilyn. Daniel chuckled to himself in the back seat. Please, you two, don't ever change. The Cosmos speeder soared through the towering buildings of downtown Artanikst, which was nestled in a small valley between a pair of mountains in the Korkan mountain range. Originally called Lundaros, it was renamed after the legendary hero Wilbur Artanik at the beginning of the Age of Progress, as this was where he was born. A statue of him stood in the center of the city in the governmental sector. Daniel often found himself standing before the statue wondering what life was truly like when Wilbur was alive, and if he'd have the same bravery and courage Wilbur had when faced with dire situations. Around them, hundreds of other speeders were heading to their own destinations like ants returning to their nest. Daniel rubbed his ears after they popped for a second time in as many minutes. Even though he'd been going to the academy for 4 years, Daniel's ears still struggled with the air pressure from time to time. Daniel, Josef asked, are you excited for your internship this semester? Of course, he replied. During his years at his secondary school back in their hometown of Trufon, Daniel discovered he loved the subject of history, and thus it became the focus of his time at the academy. As was required for all the students in their final year, Daniel had an internship at a job related to their field of study. He debated over many options before finally deciding to work at the Artanikst Museum of Palmaran History as a tour guide. His first day at the job was on the 10th of Vor, 3 days away. How about the both of you? I'm a little nervous, Emilyn admitted. I'm not much older than some of the kids I'll be helping out. I don't know if they'll take me seriously. She was going to be assisting with one of the secondary schools in Artanikst as she pursued the career of teacher. They won't if you punch them in the arm, Josef joked. Emilyn rolled her eyes. I'm not gonna punch them in the arm. Trust me, that is only reserved for you. I feel so special. You should, Daniel interjected with a hint of sincerity in his voice. Not many people have a loving relationship like you nowadays. You're lucky to find someone else who follows Arnian like you do. Everyone else is so focused on their careers and love seems to take a back seat. I know you don't think you'll ever find someone who holds our beliefs, Daniel. Emilyn empathetically looked in his direction. But I have this feeling you'll find her this year. Daniel laughed. I doubt it. We've been at the academy for 4 years, and we're the only ones who are followers of the way. If she existed, we would know by now. Besides, I don't want to be focused on that this year. I want to finish with good grades in all my courses, do amazing on my internship, and win the Solar Faceoff World Championship. Everything else can wait. Josef reached over and grabbed Emilyn's hand. Daniel noticed the surprise on Emilyn's face. Seth rarely shows public displays of affection. You say that now, Daniel, but if the right girl comes along, you will find she's the only thing that can't wait. Oh, Seth, Emilyn leaned over and kissed him. That is probably the sweetest thing you've ever said to me. Good. Don't forget it, because I don't know when I'll manage to think of anything else to top it. And the moment's gone. Emilyn frowned. Daniel smiled and studied the world outside his window passing him by. Most of the winter snow had melted and the trees were starting to awaken in the spring sun. I won't lie. It would be nice to be with someone. But I've accepted that isn't in the cards for me right now. Who knows what life will be like after we graduate from the academy. Seth, you'll be a civilian starship pilot and Emmy will join you up on the space stations once you're married. I don't want to lose this year with you both. I want this to be our best year ever. and I'm committed to make it happen. The conversation shifted to focus on Seth's internship with one of the local space yards, but Daniel couldn't shake an uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach. Something was telling him this year wasn't going to go as he planned, and he wasn't sure if that excited him or made him scared. In the stillness of his mind, he heard Arnian's voice speak. "Don't depend on your own understanding, my son. Follow me, and I will light the road ahead." A peace washed over Daniel, despite not knowing what road Arnian was going to lead him to take. Thank you for listening to my book, Palmara, A Dying Breed. I'd love to hear your feedback. What do you like? What do you think needs some work? What are you most interested to see happen? What questions do you have? At the end of every chapter, I'll have these slides that show how time works in Palmara, plus the different sayings and terms to help you engage with the world. As well, the characters who appear in each chapter will be found in the video description. Be sure to check it out. And if you're enjoying this and enjoy other stories, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You can always join the Discord with the link in the description as well. Until next time, Hinei Akmatov, which means how pleasant it is for humanity to dwell in harmony with one another. Take care.